Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown was from the Giant Center in Hershey, Pennsylvania, while Rampage was taped from the Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And Smackdown tonight, as always, this show was absolutely abysmal, absolutely atrocious. This show continues to get worse and worse every single week. SmackDown is literally the worst pro wrestling show on television. But what do we get on the show tonight? We had New Day versus Lotharios, Alberto and Angel. This is the third match that they had. We had Xia Li versus Natalya. Xia Li in another match since she got drafted to SmackDown back in October. We had Sasha Banks versus Shotzi. Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss, a rematch from last Saturday at Elimination Chamber. And I'm surprised Moss even competed after that spot in the match at Elimination Chamber where he landed on his head. And then we had the contract signing between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, which WWE has now confirmed that it's going to be a unification match where they're going to unify the titles. So hopefully with that, it'll end the brand split. But knowing WWE, they won't do that because Vince Bruce Pritchard and anybody on that WWE creative is fucking lazy. Do I want to see WWE end the brand split? Yes. But knowing WWE creative and Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard, they won't even end it. They won't. Because WWE creative is fucking lazy. It would be good for superstars. We'll have both of the shows, both Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown superstars could go to Raw, have a match with superstars on Raw. Raw superstars can come to SmackDown, and we'll just have, like a super show for, both brands. It would be better with having some sort of super show with the brands. Just like how they did back, 10 years ago? But knowing them, they don't want to end the brand split. I know that they're not going to end the brand split because I think WWE is afraid. I think they are afraid to end the brand split. So we're just going to keep getting this formulaic brand split. And when Roman is holding the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship, what's he going to do? I know he's going to float around to Raw and SmackDown. He could go to Raw, have a few matches there, and if he's to SmackDown, if he's flown on SmackDown, he's pretty much being everybody on SmackDown. But we're getting this unification match at WrestleMania. It's going to be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns is going to become the WWE Champion and the Universal Champion at WrestleMania. So that's going to happen. But overall, SmackDown, as always, abysmal show, god-awful, absolutely terrible. But before I get into the review, just wanted to get out the news that broke out yesterday. I'm sure some of you already know about the news. But Cesaro is gone from WWE. His contract ended up expiring. And this is coming from WrestlingInc.com. Cesaro quietly exited WWE after his contract expired. He was originally scheduled to be on SmackDown tonight. It was known that WWE and Cesaro had been in contract negotiations, but they could not come to terms on a new deal. Cesaro is reportedly free to sign with anyone he wants to, as he is not under any kind of non-compete clause due to the contract expiring. So that's good. So he doesn't have a 90-day non-compete clause because WWE, when they release superstars, they give them a 90-day non-compete clause, so they can't compete anywhere else until that clause is up. So that's good for Cesaro. He doesn't have the 90-day non-compete clause because of his contract expiring. Cesaro last wrestled on the February 11th edition of SmackDown, where he lost to Happy Corbin. He wrestled just 5 matches this year, and he lost each one. He teamed with Ricochet for a loss to Sheamus and Ridge Holland at day 1. He teamed with Mansoor for a Fatal 4-Way, lost to the Viking Raiders on the January 14th edition of SmackDown. He teamed with Ricochet for 2 day 1 rematch losses on the January 28th and February 4th editions of SmackDown. And then he lost to Corbin on the February 11th edition. Cesaro signed with WWE in 2011 after a successful run on the Indies and in ROH. He leaves WWE a 5-time Raw WWE Tag Team Champion, a 2-time SmackDown Tag Team Champion, and a 1-time United States Champion. Of course, he won the first ever Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30. And there is no word yet on if he is interested in signing with AEW or Impact or New Japan. But if I were to see Cesaro, sign somewhere, I see him possibly signing, going to New Japan, or maybe he'll sign with AEW. But if Tony Khan is to bring in Cesaro to AEW, I think it's just going to be a one-off. I mean, AEW's roster is so packed as of now. So, even though I like to see Cesaro in AEW, I think if Tony Khan does decide to have Cesaro come in for a match on AEW, I think it's just going to be a one-off. But Cesaro, WWE dropped the ball on him. Cesaro could have been at a main event level, and WWE just saw him as a mid-carder. But WWE, all they saw in Cesaro was, like I said, a mid-carder. This guy should have been a main event guy. And WWE saw no interest in making him a main eventer guy. But good on Cesaro for leaving WWE. Wherever he goes, he's going to have the utmost respect. So, wherever he goes, he will do very good at wherever he goes, whether it's to New Japan or have that one match in AEW, or hell, maybe Tony Khan will sign Cesaro for a possibly year contract. Who knows? But wherever he goes, like I said, he will do good. That's the news that broke out yesterday. So now on to the SmackDown review. So SmackDown opened up tonight with Michael Cole. Michael Cole was in the ring, and he introduced Ronda Rousey. So Rhonda ended up coming out. She got into the ring. Michael Cole ended up asking Rhonda why she decided to return at the Royal Rumble after being gone from the WWE for 3 years. Rhonda ended up talking about breaking her hand in the main event at WrestleMania 35. She was rehabbing that, and she ended up breaking her other hand, and then also going on to having a child. Rhonda ended up saying that she knew then that she wanted to return after giving birth and punch her ticket for her second WrestleMania main event. So Rhonda ended up bringing up how her mother was the second woman to win a Judo World Championship, while she was the second mom, while she was studying with her PhD, and while she was an engineer. Rhonda ended up saying that she wanted to set that same badass example for her daughter. So that's why she came back. So Michael Cole ended up bringing up some of Rhonda's accomplishments. And, her accomplishments in WWE. Before she came to WWE, she went into the UFC Hall of Fame. And he ended up asking how winning the Rumble felt for Rhonda. So Rhonda ended up saying that she doesn't like to dwell on accomplishments, as she's already focused on what's next for her. And she's ready to tap out Charlotte. So Michael Cole ended up bringing up how she had one arm behind her back at Elimination Chamber. And her and Naomi end up beating Charlotte and Sonya Deville. So then we had Charlotte end up coming out. So Charlotte ended up getting on the mic, and she was commenting on how much fun it was giving Rhonda a little taste of a comeback last week. She ended up going on about how Rhonda ended up having one arm behind her back. She ended up saying that it won't be like that at WrestleMania, because that night will be stupendous. I'm tired of WWE promoting this WrestleMania as the most stupendous WrestleMania. It's not going to be the most stupendous WrestleMania. It's going to be the most predictable WrestleMania. This WrestleMania is shaping up to be one of the worst WrestleManias that WWE is going to produce. That WrestleMania card is looking fucking awful. And there's no hype going into WrestleMania. This doesn't even feel like WrestleMania season. Most stupendous WrestleMania. More like most stupendous, boring WrestleMania that's going to be. God, that card is looking fucking awful. So we had Charlotte end up saying that she plans on locking Rhonda in the figure eight. She ended up saying that for the first time in Rhonda's life, she will scream for mercy and tap out, which means that she will remain the SmackDown Women's Champion. Charlotte wanted to say that the silver lining for Rhonda is that she gets to go home and work on having another baby. So Charlotte was standing on the entranceway as she was delivering what she was saying to Rhonda. She ended up laughing, and Sonya Deville ended up attacking Rhonda from behind. She ended up taking Rhonda down with a chop block. So Sonya was trash talking to Rhonda as Rhonda ended up getting back up. Charlotte then tripped Rhonda from the floor. She pulled her leg out. She pulled Rhonda's leg out, and Charlotte ended up slamming Rhonda's leg at the ring post a few times. So Sonya Deville was talking more trash to Rhonda as Rhonda struggled to get up. Rhonda ended up still taking Sonya Deville down with a throw. She ended up sending Sonya Deville retreating out to the floor. And so Rhonda ended up standing tall, and that was how this segment ended. This segment was awful. Yawn-inducing, and just flat out fucking terrible. It's like Rhonda doesn't want to be there. Rhonda's just only there just to collect a paycheck. And Charlotte, whenever Charlotte comes out, it's mute-inducing television. It's muting the TV or changing the channel. Awful. Segment was awful. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Adam Pearce was backstage with Sonya Deville, and both of them were watching what Sonya did to Ronda Rousey, with attacking her from behind and delivering a chop block to Ronda. So Adam Pearce was not happy at what Sonya Deville did. So Adam Pearce ended up telling Sonya Deville that due to her actions and Ronda's request, next week on SmackDown, it's going to be Sonya Deville versus Ronda Rousey. So Adam Pearce ended up saying that the match has already been approved with upper management. So there you go. We're going to get Sonya Deville and Ronda Rousey next week on SmackDown. And then we had the first match of the night, which was a rematch. 3 times we've seen this. Los Lotharios versus the New Day. So Los Lotharios, Angel and Alberto, they end up coming out first. And of course we had the kiss cam. And they found this woman sitting at ringside. And both Angel and Alberto end up kissing her on the cheek. And then they made their way into the ring. And then we had the New Day come out, Big E and Kofi Kingston, and they were riding to the ring on a ATV, which the ATV was Kofi's birthday gift to Big E because Big E's birthday. So happy birthday to Big E. And Michael Cole even stated that on commentary that the ATV was Kofi's birthday gift to Big E. So they were riding out there. They were trying to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin when Austin, back in the day, when he was on Monday Night Raw, he rode the ATV down to the ring. So the match ended up starting. Kofi and Alberto start off the match. Kofi ended up dropping Humberto, ended up splashing Humberto, and he went for the cover. Humberto kicked out 2. Big E then came in, delivered a shoulder thrust to Humberto. Big E ended up covering Humberto, which he kicked out 2. So Big E ended up doing the abdominal stretch to Humberto, and he ended up still having the hold locked in on Humberto. Humberto ended up fighting off of Big E, but Big E ended up beating Humberto down. Kofi came in. Him and Big E started double teaming on Alberto. Kofi covered Humberto and Humberto kicked out 2. So Kofi ended up kicking Humberto and he got distracted by Angel from the apron, which allowed Humberto to kick Kofi out to the floor. So Los Lotharios ended up taking Big E out with a double team. So they were double teaming on Big E. And then they ended up taking Kofi back down to the floor. As SmackDown came back from the commercial, Angel was working Kofi over in the corner, and Humberto tagged back in. Angel and Alberto end up double teaming on Kofi, and we had Humberto end up going for the cover. Kofi kicked out at 2. Humberto started grounding Kofi, and he slowly got back up. Humberto ended up dropping Kofi, knocked Big E off the apron. Angel ended up tagging back in. And once again, Los Lotharios end up double teaming on Kofi. And Angel ended up grounding Kofi in a single leg crab. Kofi ended up breaking out of the single leg crab, got free, nailed a run and stomp to Angel. So Big E and Alberto ended up tagging it at the same time. Big E delivered a belly-to-belly suplex to Humberto. He ended up doing another one. So Big E ended up ducking Humberto, and he ended up hitting another belly-to-belly slam to Humberto. So Big E was waiting for Humberto to get back up because Big E ended up landing a run splash to Humberto in the middle of the ring. Angel started distracting Big E from the apron, which allowed Humberto to drop Big E with a super kick. So Angel tagged in. Big E ended up catching Angel, and he delivered the Uranagi. Kofi ended up tagging in. They ended up doing the Midnight Hour. Kofi ended up going for the cover. Humberto ran in and broke up the pin. So at the end of the match, we had Kofi end up leveling Angel with a jumping knee. Big E ended up tagging back in. And Big E and Kofi end up hitting the Midnight Hour. Big E ended up going for the cover on Angel. So there you go. Kofi and Big E ended up winning the match. Overall, match was okay. I mean, 3 times we've seen these guys go at it. 3 times we've seen Los Lotharios and the New Day go at it. And then Michael Cole ended up sending us to a commercial that featured Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. It was a commercial for the Toyota Tundra. So Nakamura lost the Intercontinental Championship last week on a taped Smackdown. And Sami Zayn is the new Intercontinental Champion. So Nakamura loses the title, and this is the best that they got for Nakamura right here. Promoting a Toyota Tundra. So, I mean, the commercial was meh, in my opinion. It was just promotion for the Tundra. So then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sheamus and Ridge Holland ended up stopping Big E and Kofi Kingston on the ATV. So Sheamus and Ridge Holland were taunting Kofi and Big E. And Sheamus ended up calling them out for fight night, saying that they have to use the ATV to carry their arses out. So Big E and Kofi end up driving off, which frustrated both Sheamus and Ridge Holland. And that was basically that. And then we had Sam Roberts. Sam Roberts was backstage. He was interviewing the Usos. Sam Roberts, he was, you might know him from, Sirius XM. He had his own radio show on there. And he does, from time to time, the kickoff shows whenever WWE has him or wants him to do a kickoff show. So Sam Roberts ended up bringing up to the Usos the WrestleMania contract signing between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Jey Uso ended up saying that it's for the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. Jimmy ended up saying that Roman Reigns will put that work in on Brock Lesnar, like they will do to the Viking Raiders. So the Viking Raiders end up showing up, they end up attacking the Usos, and they demanded their shot at the SmackDown Tag Team titles. And pretty much that was basically that. But, last Friday at Elimination Chamber, this match was supposed to take place between the Usos and the Viking Raiders. And the Usos just end up attacking the Viking Raiders, so the match didn't get underway. And what a waste of them to go over there to Saudi Arabia and not have the match. They WWE Creative tell them, oh yeah, we're not going to do the match. The Usos, they're just going to run out and attack you guys, and that will be that. No match is going to take place. So they wasted their time going from here in the US, flying 18 hours to Saudi Arabia just to not have a match and to just have a brawl attack. What a waste it was for them to go all the way out there to Saudi Arabia and not put on a match. And then we have Megan Moran. Megan Moran was backstage with Xia Li. Xia Li ended up telling Megan Moran that she waited for this moment her whole life. Xia Li ended up saying that she worked so hard in NXT and always dreamed of competing on SmackDown. She ended up saying that she is nervous, but she is also confident because she is the protector and that Natalya will need protection. So then Xia Li ended up making her way out, did her entrance, looking like she came out of Mortal Kombat, with the lightning. I'm just waiting for, at the end of every match that Xia Li wins, for them to have the Mortal Kombat saying where they say, finish her. Instead of them going, finish him, finish her. Xia Li wins. I'm waiting for that. So Xia Li versus Natalya. This match was boring. Absolutely boring. So Xia Li ended up coming out. And then Natalya ended up making her way out, still carrying that Guinness Book of World Records book. We saw Shayna Baszler, Aaliyah, Drew Gulak, and Mansoor watching backstage. And Michael Cole in commentary ended up saying that there's a lot of interest in Xia Li's debut. So the match got underway. Both Li and Natalya end up locking up. Natalya went behind. She ended up slamming Xia Li down by her hair. Natalya ended up dropping Xia Li in the corner, started stomping away at her. Natalya then whipped Xia Li into the corner, and Natalya tried to whip Xia Li into the opposite corner, but Xia Li ended up jumping up to the top. She ended up rolling through down to the mat. She ended up nailing the drop kick to Natalya, which she went for the cover, and Natalya kicked out at 2. So Natalya delivered a discus clothesline to Xia Li. She ended up going for the cover, which Xia Li kicked out at 1. Natalya then ended up taking Li back to the corner, started working her over. She delivered a snap suplex to Xia Li in the middle of the ring. So Natalya was continuing to dominate on Xia Li. She ended up delivering a abdominal stretch to Xia Li, working her over. Natalya ended up bending Xia Li's leg back while she kept the abdominal stretch locked in. So Xia Li ended up mounting some offense with some strikes because she ended up fighting out of the abdominal stretch, delivering elbows to Natalya. So we had Xia Li just unloaded with some strikes to Natalya. Xia Li delivered 2 big knees to Natalya and a kick, which sent Natalya into the corner. Xia Li delivered a run knee into the corner and an elbow to the top of Natalya's head. She then delivered a overhead suplex, and she went for the cover, which Natalya kicked out at 2. Natalya then ended up going for the sharpshooter, but Xia Li ended up kicking her away. So Xia Li ended up leveling Natalya with a spinning heel kick, and Xia Li then ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Xia Li ended up winning the match. Overall, match was boring, in my opinion. And then we had Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn ended up coming out for his Intercontinental Championship celebration. Sami Zayn was dressed in a suit, looked like he went through Seth Rollins' closet. You could see that the suit that Sami Zayn was wearing, you would see Seth Rollins wearing that. So he stole that suit from Seth Rollins' closet. So Sami Zayn ended up posing on the apron, and SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sami Zayn was in the ring. It was decorated with balloons in there. The balloons were on the ring post. His Intercontinental Championship was on display in the middle of the ring. So Sami Zayn ended up getting on the mic. He ended up saying, finally, the Intercontinental Championship is back where it belongs. You know, Sami Zayn is now a 3-time Intercontinental Champion. So Sami Zayn ended up going on about the conspiracies against him and where he's finally at now. He complained about how the balloons and the ring apron aren't the colors that he wanted. Sami Zayn ended up insisting they will persecute him any chance they get. But now he knows he can get over no matter what they throw at him. So Sami Zayn ended up screaming at the fans to show him some respect as the new Intercontinental Champion, because the fans were giving him the what treatment and booing him. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that he's happy to give Shinsuke Nakamura a rematch, but he's still picking up the pieces of his kneecap, which Sami Zayn ended up shattering. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that unlike Nakamura, he's happy to defend the Intercontinental Championship against all corners. anyone who's brave enough to step in the ring against him. So Sami Zayn ended up saying, now that he got that out of the way, let's get down to the festivities. And then Johnny Knoxville ended up coming out. Johnny Knoxville got on the mic, and Sammy ended up getting fans to pop for Johnny Knoxville. We had a Johnny chant, and you already know where this is going to lead to. He ended up saying that Johnny Knoxville got his reaction. So why is Johnny Knoxville here? Knoxville ended up telling Sami Zayn that he crashed his Jackass Forever movie premiere. So he's here now. So Knoxville ended up saying hi to Sami Zayn. Zayn ended up saying that they can talk later, but for now he's going to ask Knoxville to get the hell out of the ring. Knoxville ended up saying that he thought he heard Sammy throw down a challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. So Knoxville was like, let's do it. So Sami Zayn ended up saying that apparently Knoxville doesn't learn. Sami Zayn ended up saying that he told Knoxville this before, but he will say it again. Johnny Knoxville doesn't belong in the ring. Sami Zayn ended up giving Johnny Knoxville some credit for getting in his head. He ended up saying that he sees through this, and it won't work. So Knoxville ended up asking Sami Zayn if he wants to be a fighting champion, or does he have no balls? So both Knoxville and Sami Zayn ended up tossing their mics. Both guys faced off in the middle of the ring. Sami Zayn ended up saying that he's not going to fight. He ended up walking past Knoxville. So Knoxville got distracted by the chants from the crowd because they were chanting his name. Sami Zayn ended up coming back over the ropes. He ended up dropping Johnny Knoxville with a cheap shot. Sami Zayn started beating Knoxville up, leans him in the corner, and delivers a haluva kick. And Knoxville was still up on his feet. And Sammy started yelling in Knoxville's face as officials came into the ring to pull Zayn away. So Sami Zayn then delivered another haluva kick to Knoxville, which Knoxville ended up going down. So Sami Zayn ended up raising the title in the air, raised the Intercontinental Championship in the air. He ended up taking his balloons, and pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. Overall, this segment was awful. Absolutely awful. And you know where this is leading to? This is leading to Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. And who knows? Knoxville will probably win the Intercontinental Championship. And if he does win the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, the Intercontinental title will be a fucking joke. And I'm sorry to say this, and I don't know why I'm going to say it, because it's painfully for me to say this, but the garbage 24/7 title has more prestige than the Intercontinental Championship. And that's sad. That's sad for me to say that. But this is WWE, what they think of the Intercontinental Championship. How sad is that? That WWE has more prestige in the 24/7 title. And it gets featured every single week on Monday Night Raw when we don't want to see that title on TV. When the 24/7 title is on TV on Monday Night Raw, it makes the show worse. WWE finds more prestige in that than the Intercontinental Championship. That's fucking sad. That is absolutely awful. But yeah, we're going to get that match at WrestleMania. Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Championship on the line. And it's going to come. Johnny Knoxville will be winning the Intercontinental Championship. It's going to happen. And WWE will do that type of shit and put the title on Johnny Knoxville. Watch. It's going to happen. Man, WrestleMania is looking like fucking dog shit. So then we had Sami Zayn backstage. He was ranting to Adam Pearce about what he just did to Johnny Knoxville. Sami Zayn ended up apologizing for overreacting, but he ended up blaming Johnny Knoxville. Adam Pearce ended up saying that he isn't thrilled with Sami Zayn. Ricochet then ended up walking up. Ricochet ended up saying that he knows Sami Zayn and Adam Pearce have a lot going on, but he heard Sami Zayn say he wanted to be a fighting champion, and that he's here to step up. Zayn ended up telling Ricochet to take a number and get to the back of the line. So Adam Pearce ended up liking Ricochet's idea. So Adam Pearce ended up announcing for SmackDown next week it's going to be Ricochet versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. That's going to be another loss right there for Ricochet. When is Ricochet's contract going to be up? And then we had Sasha Banks versus Shotzi. Sasha Banks ended up coming out. Shotzi was already in the ring. Shotzi didn't get no ring introduction, no music. She was already in the ring. So before the match started, Naomi ended up coming out. Naomi was on commentary for the match. Shotzi ended up slapping Sasha, started yelling at her. As the match ended up starting, Sasha ended up taking Shotzi down with a headlock. Shotzi ended up grabbing Sasha by the hair, started talking trash to her. Sasha ended up slapping Shotzi, and she just took control of the match. Sasha delivered a suplex in the middle of the ring to Shotzi, and she did the Three Amigos, paid tribute to the late great Eddie Guerrero. Shotzi ended up countering, ended up slamming Sasha over the top rope, and she was stomping away on Sasha. She ended up going for a cover. Sasha kicked out too. At the end of the match, Sasha ended up hitting the backstabber and transitioned that into the bank statement on Shotzi. And there you go. Sasha Banks ended up winning the match. Post-match, Naomi ended up applauding Sasha. She ended up getting up from the commentary table. Naomi then came into the ring. She got on the mic, and she ended up announcing that she and Sasha are the next women's tag team champions. So, pretty much that was basically what Naomi had to say. So it looks like Sasha and Naomi want a shot at the women's tag team titles. They want to face Carmella and Queen Zelina Vega. Man, they would be better women's tag team champions than the two that are currently holding the titles. But Shotzi, she is absolutely buried. Ever since that heel turn that WWE has given her, she has just been on a downfall. Shotzi is buried. And it's sad because she's very talented. And then we have Megan Moran. Megan Moran was backstage with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, the Joker and the Riddler. Every time these two are on TV, you just gotta reach for the remote and change the channel. Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss are the worst when on SmackDown. Whenever they are on, they make the show even worse. So we had Corbin and I'm joking about how Moss used his head. He ended up saying that it's a good thing Moss has a strong head because at Elimination Chamber, Drew McIntyre delivered that Alabama slam to Moss and Moss landed on his head. So Corbin ended up going on. He ended up saying that McIntyre gets to deal with him. And Corbin ended up having the balls to say that this is a WrestleMania caliber match. And that's happened on SmackDown. Corbin versus McIntyre is not a WrestleMania caliber match. I'm sorry, Corbin. It's not. So Corbin ended up saying that we saw how McIntyre is off his rocker as he tried to use a sword on Corbin. You end up saying that you don't get to disrespect Corbin or his friends like that and get away with it. So Corbin ended up saying that he's going to show McIntyre who the real warrior is. And that's no joke. So Moss looked a bit concerned. He was clutching his neck. Michael Cole in commentary ended up saying that Corbin has called an audible and he will be facing McIntyre instead of Moss. So then Drew McIntyre ended up coming out with Angela. So SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back, out came Corbin and Moss. Corbin ended up getting on the mic. He ended up reminding us how he said this was a WrestleMania caliber match. No, it's not. He ended up asking McIntyre if he really wants to get embarrassed in front of the crowd in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Corbin ended up saying that these people are pathetic. He ended up saying nothing would make him more happy than stopping McIntyre to a pulp. But his friend Moss is a real inspiration as he landed on his head and kept on fighting. So Corbin ended up telling Moss to step up to the apron and show everyone how good he really is. So Corbin ended up saying, why don't Moss take this rematch? Because he deserves it. So Corbin ended up saying that it's only McIntyre. Moss can take him. So Moss looked a bit worried. Corbin dropped McIntyre with a cheap shot to start off the match. So McIntyre ended up getting double teamed by Moss and Corbin. So it was Drew McIntyre versus Madcap Moss, a rematch from Elimination Chamber from last Saturday. This match was awful. Match was boring. Moss ended up running across the ring with a corner thrust to McIntyre. And this match was the original plan. It was McIntyre versus Moss. However, earlier in the afternoon, it was changed to Corbin versus McIntyre. But WWE reverted right back to their original plan and had McIntyre face Madcap Moss. So McIntyre ended up coming right back with a Glasgow Kiss headbutt, knocking Moss into the corner. McIntyre ended up going for another Alabama Slam. Corbin ended up pleading from ringside for McIntyre not to do that again. Moss ended up hanging on to the rope. He scrambled to the floor to regroup with Corbin. McIntyre ended up yelling at them from the ring. SmackDown came back from the commercial. It was back and forth between McIntyre and Moss. Moss ended up dropping McIntyre as Corbin cheered him on from ringside. Moss leveled McIntyre with a shoulder tackle. He went for the cover, and McIntyre kicked out too. So, at the end of the match, we had Moss end up running the ropes, and McIntyre ended up nailing a Claymore out of nowhere. McIntyre ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Drew McIntyre ended up winning the match. Overall, this match was boring. Same shit that we saw at Elimination Chamber. Man, how did McIntyre go from Bobby Lashley last year at WrestleMania to fucking Corbin? Jeez. And then we have Megan Moran. Megan Moran was backstage with Ronda Rousey. So Moran ended up asking Rousey about her match next Friday against Sonya Deville. Rousey ended up saying that for all the time Sonya Deville has messed with her and bullied Naomi, next week she will show everyone what happens when authority figures step out of line. So that was what Rhonda had to say. And then we had the WrestleMania contract signing, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar for the unification match. So we had the Bloodline end up coming out first. And as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Adam Pearce was at the table for the contract signing. The Bloodline was in the ring, and the ring had security in there. So Paul Heyman ended up getting on the mic. He ended up going on about how this winner takes all, it's a winner takes all unification match at WrestleMania. He described about it. He ended up going on about how this is bigger than Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, Steve Austin versus The Rock, and bigger than when he conquered The Undertaker's streak, which he will give half credit to Brock Lesnar for. Fans booed at Paul Heyman's comments on this match being bigger than, Hulk Hogan and Andre and Austin and Rock. So Paul Heyman ended up hyping up the match. He ended up saying these security guards that were in the ring are here to protect Brock Lesnar from his own impulsiveness and to protect him from his own tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman ended up saying that, ladies and gentlemen, is what you call a cliffhanger. And then the show went to another break, another commercial. And then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, it was announced that Vince McMahon is announced for Pat McAfee's show next Thursday. And from what I heard, Pat McAfee is going to be involved in WrestleMania. And that he might have a match. The last time we saw Pat McAfee in the ring was when he faced Adam Cole at a NXT TakeOver. So with Vince McMahon being on Pat McAfee's show next Thursday, this is possibly going to lead to maybe we'll get Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory at WrestleMania. With Austin Theory always being around, Vince McMahon, and Vince is, trying to make Austin Theory go out there and win matches that we're seeing on Monday Night Raw. But I have a feeling it's going to be Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory at WrestleMania. So then out came Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar headed to the ring, and he was wearing his cowboy hat. So he was staring at Reigns. Reigns ended up staring up from his chair as fans were chanting Suplex City. Lesnar got on the mic. He ended up addressing Reigns as Mr. Acknowledgement and Paul Heyman as Mr. Dick. Brock Lesnar introduced himself as the new reigning and defending WWE Heavyweight Champion of the world. Brock Lesnar ended up saying that he must contain himself a little bit here. He admits that he is very impulsive. He ended up saying that if they think for 1 second these skid-marked security guards will stop him from jumping the table and kicking Reigns' ass and Paul Heyman and the Usos' ass, they have another thing coming. Lesnar ended up saying that he's the only thing stopping him from coming over the table and kicking their asses. So Lesnar ended up saying that he's going to sign the contract because he's kicking their asses at WrestleMania. And you can bet he's getting paid for it. Pierce ended up handing the contract to Brock Lesnar. Paul Heyman then ended up ranting about how he's tired of Lesnar. He ended up saying that this will not be a unification match because Lesnar won't have the WWE Championship when he gets to WrestleMania. Because he's losing it next Saturday MSG at Madison Square Garden. Reigns ended up taking the contract. Reigns ended up signing it. Adam Pearce ended up walking away with the contract. Reigns ended up saying that Lesnar, the farm boy, must be confused because that WWE Championship belongs to him. Reigns ended up standing up. He ended up going on about how he's going to smash Lesnar. He ends up saying, "Oh, this is SmackDown. This is my show. This is my ring. This is my cameraman. These are my commentary guys, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. They work for me." And Reigns was like, "Oh, that WrestleMania sign, that's my sign. Because I am WrestleMania." So Reigns ended up going on about how he runs everything. And everyone works for him. Lesnar ended up standing up, and Reigns ended up speaking from ringside, saying that everyone works for him, including the security in the ring. So security ended up surrounding Lesnar. Lesnar ended up flipping over the table. He starts destroying the guards, the security guards. Lesnar was swinging furniture around, and he delivered the F5 to a security guard. He delivered 2 F5s to 2 security guards. And that was how SmackDown went off the air. The bloodline was on the entranceway. And that was how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, really enjoyed this segment. Really like it that the match now is a winner takes all unification match. Roman Reigns going to be a double champion. He's going to be holding the WWE Championship and Universal Championship at WrestleMania. But hopefully, like I said, with this unification match, WWE ends the brand split. But knowing them, like I said earlier, they won't do it because they are fucking lazy. As much as I want to see the brand split end, they won't do it. WWE won't end the brand split. But overall, SmackDown, abysmal show, as always. Terrible. And then we're moving on to Rampage now. Rampage was a decent show. We had Sammy Guevara versus Andrade El Idolo with the TNT Championship was on the line. We had Wardlow versus Nick Comoroto. Serena Deeb versus Kayla Sparks. And in the main event, it was a Face of the Revolution qualifying match. Orange Cassidy versus Anthony Bowens. Rampage opened up with the TNT Championship on the line. Sammy Guevara defended the title against Andrade El Idolo. And his assistant Jose was at ringside along with Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy. And they wasted no time. They just went right to the action. So Andrade and Sammy Guevara, they end up going for their finishers, but they both end up managing to escape. Andrade offered a handshake to Guevara. Guevara ended up flipping him off, gave him the middle finger. Andrade backed Guevara into the corner, started delivering some chops to Guevara. Guevara ended up delivering a drop kick, which sent Andrade to the outside. Guevara ended up catching Andrade, ended up charging him back into the ring, and Guevara ended up planting Andrade with a awesome looking Spanish fly, and Guevara ended up going for the cover, and Andrade kicked out at 2. Guevara and Andrade, they were trading strikes, and we had Andrade end up getting back to his feet. He tried to remove one of the turnbuckle pads. Matt Hardy ended up removing a turnbuckle pad because the referee, who was Paul Turner, had his back turned, so Matt Hardy ended up removing the turnbuckle pad. Andrade ended up missing a running double knees to the corner to Guevara. Guevara hoisted up Andrade for the GTH. Andrade ended up rolling up Guevara with his feet on the ropes. And you could tell at that point where Andrade ended up rolling up Guevara, Matt Hardy appeared to push Andrade's foot off the bottom rope. It looked like he was trying to push his foot or just hold on to Andrade's foot for Andrade to get the win. But there was speculation there on that. And it went right to the replay, and it didn't really, answer that question as to whether, Matt Hardy was going to push Andrade's foot off the ropes or just hold on to Andrade's foot in order for him to get the win. So that didn't really explain, the answer to that, of what Matt Hardy was trying to do. So Guevara ended up taking down Andrade with a super kick. And we had, at the end of the match, Andrade ended up going off the second rope. He ended up landing headfirst on the exposed turnbuckle from Guevara. Guevara ended up hitting the springboard cutter, and he ended up getting the pin on Andrade. So there you go. Guevara ended up winning the match, retaining the TNT Championship. Post-match, Matt Hardy ended up coming in. He ended up attacking Guevara. Darby Allin and Sting ended up running out to rescue Guevara. And that was that. Overall, this was a good match between Guevara and Andrade for the TNT Championship. Guevara, every time he does that Spanish fly, it looks good every time he does it. And like I said, that little spot where Matt Hardy looked like he was trying to get Andrade's foot off the ropes or just try to hold down to Andrade's foot, in order for him to get the win, didn't, answer that question there as to what Matt Hardy was trying to do. But overall, good match. And then as Rampage came back from the commercial, QT Marshall came out on the stage. QT Marshall was talking about Hook. He's chewing out Taz over, the recent reactions of Hook. QT Marshall talked about training Hook and trying to teach him respect. So QT Marshall ended up calling out Hook to come out and thank him. So Hook ended up coming out. QT Marshall was waving in some, guys to take on Hook. Looked like they were students of QT Marshall. So Hook ended up laying out all of those guys. And QT Marshall wanted one guy to go and attack Hook. And he didn't want no parts, so he ended up just, running off. And pretty much that was that. And then we went to Dan Lambert, Ethan Page, and Scorpio Sky backstage. Dan Lambert ended up saying that he demanded a TNT championship for Scorpio Sky. Lambert ended up saying that he was assured that Scorpio Sky will get a shot before the winner of the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So it looks like we're going to be in Sammy Guevara versus Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. And then we had Wardlow versus Nick Comoroto. And this was a decent match here. Nick Comoroto was pretty good here in this match. So the start of the match, Nick Comoroto ended up powering down on Wardlow. Wardlow kicked up, ended up taking down Comoroto with a suplex. Comoroto ended up trying to power up Wardlow. Wardlow ended up escaping. He catched Comoroto and he threw him over the top rope out to the floor. Comoroto ended up poisoning up Wardlow for a press slam. Wardlow ended up reversing and escaping, and he delivered a choke slam to Comoroto. Wardlow was looking to go for the powerbomb, but Comoroto reversed it. Wardlow ended up hitting the powerbomb, and he followed up with a second powerbomb. Wardlow then ended up hitting a third and fourth powerbomb to Nick Comoroto, and he ended up going for the cover. He ended up putting his boot on top of Nick Comoroto. And there you go. Wardlow ended up winning the match. Post-match, Aaron Solo tried to jump on Wardlow, but he got caught by Wardlow. Aaron Solo, with the hair, he looks like Bo Dallas, in my opinion. I thought it was Bo Dallas at first, but I'm like, oh no, it's Aaron Solo. So, Wardlow ended up flipping Solo into a powerbomb position. Shawn Spears ended up hitting Aaron Solo with a chair while he was up for the powerbomb. So, it appeared that Wardlow was hit in the hand. So Shawn Spears got on the mic. He ended up telling Wardlow that he doesn't think the powerbomb symphony is working. He ended up saying that he doesn't think it's getting over. So Shawn Spears ended up wanting Wardlow to get back to basics. Spears ended up declaring no more powerbombs. So Spears ended up telling Wardlow that he has so much potential, and me and Max, MJF, are so proud of you. So Shawn Spears ended up giving Wardlow a hug. Wardlow did not look too thrilled at that. But that was that. But to me, it's like they have nothing good going for Wardlow as of now. Nothing good will happen to Wardlow until he turns on MJF and becomes a babyface. So they have nothing for Wardlow until that happens, until he turns babyface. And then we had Serena Deeb versus Kayla Sparks. This was a 5-minute rookie challenge where Kayla Sparks had the last 5 minutes in the ring with Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb ended up attacking Kayla Sparks, ended up choking Sparks with her robe. So Serena Deeb ended up delivering a European uppercut, which put Kayla Sparks down. Deeb ended up attacking Sparks with some forearms. She ended up putting Sparks on the top rope, and Sparks was tied up on the rope as Deeb ended up stretching Sparks with a gory special. It was a variation of that. So Deeb ended up working on a hammerlock on Sparks. Deeb locked in the Serenity Lock, and that was that. Serena Deeb ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a quick match. And then we had the contract signing between Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, for their match at Revolution for the AEW Women's World Championship. So Tony Schiavone was in the ring. He was the speculator on the contract signing. So Thunder Rosa ended up saying, let's give the people what they want. A better champion. You cheated. So she was saying that to Britt Baker. Thunder Rosa ended up signing the contract. Britt Baker then got on the mic, and she ended up saying that Thunder Rosa is only relevant when she's mentioned in the same breath as her. The Doctor ended up saying that they made history in their Lights Out match, and Thunder Rosa won it. But everyone was talking about Baker after the match. The Doctor, Britt Baker, ended up saying that Thunder Rosa is bitter. Baker ended up saying that Rosa thinks winning the AEW Women's World Championship will solve all of her problems. But Thunder Rosa will never beat her. So Britt Baker ended up shooting on Thunder Rosa. She was like, while I won the AEW Women's World Championship, you were wrestling on YouTube. So Britt Baker ended up telling Thunder Rosa that you will never be the face of All Elite Wrestling. Britt Baker ended up saying that Thunder Rosa doesn't hate her. She ended up saying that Thunder Rosa actually hates herself because she'll never be her. So Britt Baker then ended up signing the contract. Thunder Rosa ended up diving across the table onto Britt Baker. Jamie Hayter and Rebel end up intervening. And then Mercedes Martinez end up coming out. Mercedes Martinez ended up throwing Rebel into the barricade. And then she came to the ring. Mercedes Martinez ended up picking up Jamie Hayter and drove Jamie Hayter through the table. And that was that. Overall, this was a very meh segment, in my opinion. So, the contract was signed, so it's Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker at Revolution for the AEW Women's World Championship. So, it should be a good match between the both of them. And then we went backstage, and Mark Henry was speaking with Orange Cassidy and Anthony Bowens. Orange Cassidy ended up saying that he isn't sure what's going on. So Wheeler Yuta, who was also there with Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta ended up explaining the situation to Orange Cassidy. So Max Caster and Anthony Bowens ended up trying to trash talk to Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy ended up stopping them. So that was that. Orange Cassidy ended up saying that he stopped listening to Caster and Bowens. And then we had what we're going to see on Dynamite this Wednesday. We're going to be seeing Hangman Adam Page, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds versus Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Bobby Fish. So a trios match. Should be a good match there between them. We're going to have the Casino Tag Battle Royal for the final spot in the AEW World Tag Team title match at Revolution. So we're going to be seeing that. And then Tony Khan will have this huge announcement. So that's taking place on Dynamite this Wednesday. And then it's official at Revolution. Jade Cargill is going to defend the TBS Championship against Ty Conti. So we're going to begin that match at Revolution. Will it be 29-0 for Jade Cargill at Revolution? We'll have to wait and see. And we all know it probably will. Main event. The Face of the Revolution qualifying match. Orange Cassidy versus Anthony Bowens. Orange Cassidy came out along with Wheeler Yuta. Anthony Bowens, of course, came out along with Max Caster. Max Caster ended up doing a weak rap during Bowens' entrance. Orange Cassidy ended up getting on the mic. He held the mic to his feet. He ended up laying in some of the little kicks to Max Caster. And he ended up clearing the ring. And Orange Cassidy was like, word to your mother. So then Cassidy ended up diving out of the ring onto Bowens. Bowens was able to retake control of the match and slammed Orange Cassidy against the ring apron. He rolled Cassidy back into the ring. He went for the cover. Cassidy kicked out at 2. So as Rampage came back from the commercial, Bowens was in control of the match. He rammed Cassidy into the turnbuckle. Bowens ended up showboating, and Cassidy ended up retaking control of the match. Cassidy ended up hitting the crossbody from the top rope. Max Caster ended up grabbing Orange Cassidy's foot, and Bowens ended up taking down Cassidy with a super kick. There was a point where Cassidy ended up hitting the Michinoku driver to Bowens, and he ended up going for the cover. Bowens ended up kicking out at 2. Cassidy was then distracted by Max Caster. Bowens ended up cutting him off in the ropes, and Bowens started hammering away on Cassidy. Bowens ended up trying to go for a pile driver, but he ended up getting flipped over the top rope out to the floor by Cassidy. Cassidy ended up following it up with a dive, and we had Caster ended up throwing the boombox to Bowens, and the referee ended up removing the boombox and allowed Bowens to take control of the match and get a near fall. So Orange Cassidy ended up going out to the outside. Max Caster was by him, and we see this person there at ringside on the floor. And it was Danhausen. Danhausen ended up sneaking up on Max Caster. Danhausen, of course, doing the... And we had Orange Cassidy then took control. He ended up taking down Caster with an orange punch. He rolled back to the ring. He ended up hitting Bowens with the orange punch. And he went for the cover. So there you go. Orange Cassidy ended up winning the match. So Orange Cassidy is the 5th man in the Face of the Revolution ladder match. So he will be joining Keith Lee, Wardlow, Powerhouse Will Hobbs, and Ricky Starks. So there you go. Your Face of the Revolution ladder match is set for Revolution. Overall, this was a good match between Cassidy and Bowens. So, Rampage was a decent show tonight. Wasn't the best Rampage. Oh. But anyways, that's it for my review of Smackdown and AEW Rampage. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, I'll see you all later.